I was recently asked by Bluetti to test their new AC60 power station. It's a 600 watt inverter with can handle up to 1200 watt surge and has a 403 watt hour battery capacity, which is expandable. I don't have the expansion batteries, so we won't be testing that at this time, but it can be expanded with two batteries up to 2000 watt hours to give you more usage. My first impressions, it's a very solidly built unit. I like that it has these really nice heavy covers over everything, and it will, although it's not submergible, it does offer some protection from dust and water. If it gets caught briefly in rain, you should be fine. You get with the unit for charging, they give you this cord for solar input. There's also this cord for cigarette lighter, which I charged in this van. I'm in my little camper van that I converted. And I was able to get 95 watts of input into the input port over here. This is where all your inputs go. And then there's also an AC charging cord. There's not a power brick necessary. It charges directly into this port. There are three modes on the AC charging. You can do turbo, which will boost this thing up to full power in about an hour or less. Standard charging gives you about 250 watts, so it takes about an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 to charge fully. And if you really have no need to recharge it quickly, then you can put it in a silent mode. It's a very slow charge that will take about 4 to 5 hours to charge, and that will help to prolong the battery life. I like that it's app controlled, which is great. You can see on here, this is the app in action. You can control everything that you need to on there, but you can see the same thing on the screen. I like the new screen. Lots of information on there. Right now I have a 100-watt solar panel plugged in to the roof of the van, and you can see I'm drawing in 69, 70 watts up and down on there. So over here on the outputs, there is a 12-volt cigarette lighter output, and I've got my system plugged into it right now. I flipped that switch and it's powering that light panel over here, which has USBs and its own cigarette lighter. You can see I'm getting 13.8 volts right now from the Bluetti, and I can flip this switch and turn on an LED light. You can see I'm up to 7 watts. There's another light behind me, so I have 2 lights. And then up in the ceiling here, you can see I do have a fan, and I can flip that on, and it runs the fan, and it's drawing about 19 watts right now. So we'll turn that off because it's a bit noisy, but that demonstrates the how the 12-volt port works. There's also a USB-C type 100 watt, so you get very fast charging on any of your devices that charge up with a USB-C. And then there is a couple of standard USB ports for charging your devices. There's 2 AC outlets, and the AC power, as I said, the inverter is 600 watts. I'm going to turn on my coffee pot because I like coffee, and that was one requirement, was if I was going to like this unit, it has to run my coffee pot. As you can see right now, Mr. Coffee over there is drawing about 545 watts, while I'm still able to do pass-through charging with my solar panel. So we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, as I said, on the screen here, it is not a touch screen, so you can't control things that way, but they do have it to where if you're not using the app or don't have an app access, you can push simultaneously the DC and AC buttons when they're off, and it will let you control the settings on the screen by pushing through the buttons. All that's explained very well. Their manual that comes with this is very well written, very easy for anyone to understand. Explains all those functions and how to set them up quite easily for anyone. And one thing that I thought was really nice is they actually go into and give you a formula so that anyone can calculate about how much usage they're going to get out of this thing, including the 85% efficiency using in the inverter, the 90% depth of discharge, and then how to calculate how much to expect by taking those things into effect. And it does have a 10-watt draw just by being on when it's on, being powered by itself. You can see it's still plugging along, making the coffee. Now, I do have another coffee pot inside my house that I tried with it, and it drew about 675, 680 watts. This unit handled it for about 30 seconds, but then it shut off. No problem though, because one of the great things about this is there is what they call continuous power. It shows up as CW on here, and if you activate that, then it boosts this to where you get up to 1200 watts of continuous running power. So I engaged that, and I was able to make my cup of coffee normally, and no more problem with the Bluetti shutting down. So my impression is that this is an awesome little unit. It's very lightweight, just under 17 pounds I believe is the total weight, so it's easily moved around if necessary. With the 400 watts, no, you're not going to get a lot of usage out of it other than as a backup, but if you do add the expansion batteries, then this thing could definitely handle a very long trip with me. Normally I have the DC fridge hooked up. This would run that easily because it only takes about 40 watts when the compressor's running. So with an expansion battery, this thing would keep me going for 4 or 5 days without any recharge on normal usage. So that's it for my review. I'm expecting to get an expansion battery, and I will do an update whenever that comes in. But thanks for watching.